The newest scandal rocking the White House is a report that President Donald Trump asked former FBI Director James Comey to shut down an investigation into National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. The White House denies the report. Regent University government professor Dr. Nick Higgins joins us now to help us better understand the allegations and the overall situation. Welcome, Dr. Higgins.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Well, first of all, break it down for us. What exactly is President Trump facing?
Well, right now the situation he's facing is one possibly of obstructing justice, which is the major accusation that's out there. Recently, last week, he fired acting or FBI Director James Comey, and there's been some questions of why that was done. At first, it was said that it was under the recommendations of the Attorney General and others, and then Trump came out and said that he had already decided to fire him before that point. And so there's a question over, is there a link of this firing to active investigations that the FBI had ongoing? And there now seems to be some memos that former Director Comey took contemporaneously. So after the conversations with President Trump back in February, he wrote down the topics of these conversations. And some of those seem to indicate there could be some interactions that might not look appropriate.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the obstruction of justice angle here. Some lawmakers accuse Trump of obstruction of justice. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a little early to make a formal accusation of obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice is actually defined in the U.S. Code 18, Section 1505. And to have obstruction of justice, there needs to be three things going on. The first is there has to be an active investigation, which is going on. The person being accused of obstructing justice has to know about it, which Donald Trump has been given information to know about it. But the third thing is there has to be an emphasis of stopping the investigation or trying to impede the investigation in a way where the person is inserting themselves inappropriately. And that third thing is a very difficult thing to prove. At this point, there is no direct evidence that there was an obstruction of justice. Some people have argued that there are some prima facie cases to be made, but at this point, there does not make a clear stance of law breaking.
What is your advice for President Trump and his administration? How should they respond in the midst of all these allegations?
First of all, I think the best advice is to make sure that you're speaking truth and speaking accurately in a unified voice. I think the most difficult thing is when you get into a he said, she said iteration where the media can jump on what this one person said and try to throw it against what another person said on the other hand. And so I think ensuring that the people who are speaking have the same message and are doing so accurately. One of the worst things for any administration is to cover up. Not that I'm accusing this of going on, but almost every politician gets in bigger trouble for covering up things than they do for actually speaking the truth and saying, you know, I might not have done this the best way. And I think that might be where President Trump should go, is to say, you know what, looking back, that wasn't a prudential decision. That wasn't the wisest thing I could have done. But it doesn't mean that it was illegal for me to do.
Let's talk a little bit about the big picture here now. What does all of this mean for the American people?
Well, a lot of this at this point is, I don't think it really matters to the American people on a short-term basis. Right now, the Senate and the House are starting to do some investigations, and Jason Chaffetz from Utah and the Senate Intelligence Committee have asked for some more information about these memos. But I think right now, the wisest piece of advice I could give the American people is don't jump to conclusions. We find that when you make major assumptions, you end up looking very poorly. And so I think we should be in a wait-and-see mode as the American people.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, I appreciate you having me this afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Higgins, government professor at Regent University. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.